Now that I am over 10,000 words in my new work in progress novel, Rabbit Hole, I thought I would take a little bit of time to talk a little bit about the creation and concept behind it. Maybe I won't get into too much details. I actually started this video not quite sure what I was going to reveal when it came to the creation of it and the general idea and just what brought this about, right? But I do know that I have to do it because I am an independent novelist now, and for those of you who aren't aware of what being an indie novelist is like, and this is a big reason why I didn't want to do it, is I didn't initially want to do it, is because you do have to go out and promote your own stuff on your own platform in your own way and try to get people to buy it and try to get them to give you their hard-earned money for this thing you've made. And it's very, very disconcerting because you sort of have to like gauge all this stuff, like, okay, what is my audience interested in, what I want to write, how much time do I have to devote to marketing, like I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, I'm still experimenting with all these different formats, all these free formats, by the way. I'm not interested in like paying people to promote my book for them because I am like 100% sure that's going to lead to like a net loss for me. I am sticking with my YouTube channel and like Twitter and stuff like that, which is doing wonders for me. I know for a fact that people are looking at it, so it's not a big deal. So I am getting myself out there. It's just a matter of like really committing to that, or really getting the ball rolling at this point, because I do think a lot of people are interested in it, and I do think it is going to turn out very well. I was talking about Eye of the Dragon. This is supposed to be about Rabbit Hole specifically. Rabbit Hole is going to be the first novel that I specifically wrote with the intention of self-publishing it, of being independent. And the reason for that is because it tackles a bunch of very strong topics that I think a lot of certain people in the industry, specifically rich and powerful people, won't necessarily take kindly to, and may see my ideas being shot down just by the virtue of them being ridiculous or unthinkable and just inconceivable. Like, you cannot present certain ideas or political opinions in publishing today. This has become apparent, I think, to most consumers of other other media, like comics in particular, film in particular, and video games. I think this is becoming kind of an issue. But I would say publishing is in kind of the same boat. But like the reason people don't really notice SJWs in publishing, even though like they're very prevalent and sort of like have control over pretty much the entire industry, is that like most people will just read really good books from 50, 100, 200 years ago. Like what? I read like stuff like A Christmas Carol. I read like Dickens. I read like Carmilla, Dracula. You know, all this like really old shit, right? Honestly, growing up, like I just kind of had this assumption that like, oh, I don't like modern novels. I want to read the classics. And so I did that. And only as an adult do I look back and realize that, like, yeah, the reason I didn't like modern novels was because good modern novels simply aren't being allowed to be made. They're not allowed to be written. Like, they're not being published. This is very prevalent when it comes to, if you're looking to be published, you will notice this. If you go talk to literary agents. Like they spout all this shit about like how they need we need more diversity. We need more characters of color. We need like more LGBT relationships. We need more stuff. We need less white people, and it becomes less white men specifically. It becomes this thing where you start to notice this like, well, what about the actual story? What about the actual books? What about the actual ideas? Like what about the actual authors? Like what? Why are you doing this? And you begin to really feel as if these people aren't interested in creating books, right? They're not interested in stories. They're interested in propaganda. They're interested in something they can use to further their political agendas. And it's kind of interesting to see like how Harry Potter went from being this really this really popular, really well done fantasy series to sort of becoming this sort of weird political dribble, right? When it came to the movies, at least, where it feels like a lot of the people who are like obsessed with Harry Potter now aren't necessarily obsessed with the books. They are obsessed with how they can twist the books to sort of fit their own socio-political agenda. Like, so for example, like, Voldemort is essentially Donald Trump, like stuff like that, right? Stuff that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Stuff that like honestly kind of detracts from the original story, the impact it's had, and really makes me disrespect it. And you see this with all sorts of different things, like Star Wars. So many Star Wars fans are disappointed with the new movies, but there are plenty of people who are defending them for political reasons because they know that their people are in charge and are controlling the property, and so they have no reason to and so they want to defend it in order to continue their propaganda seeping into the mainstream. And so, like, that's kind of the issue I've had going into publishing, is that, like, I feel like, well, they're not interested in unique creative stories. They're not interested in people who are trying to redefine the wheel, like trying to do something different, something interesting, something fresh and new. Like, they just want more of the same they want more of the same, like, nonsense, essentially. Like, Harry Potter clones with more gay characters is the way I would describe it. Considering just how prevalent they are, and just like, oh, we want more of the same. We want more of what's already popular. We don't want to build up talent. We don't want to put new people on the map. We want we want more of the same from, like, these celebrities and, like, these hacks, and just it's unbelievable. It is a complete mess. And as a result of that, like, when I was trying to get mainstream published, when I was trying to get out there and really address, really talk about, really try to become better, right, try to become, like, a real success story in the industry. I did try to sort of scale back what I wanted to do a little bit. Like, I made it a lot less violent. I cut back on, like, the sexuality. I cut back on, like, certain aspects. I cut back on, like, I did a lot of things, but, like, I think it's reached the point where recently, after finishing The Eye of the Dragon, where, like, I felt like I couldn't go any further in that direction without really sacrificing what I wanted to do creatively to begin with. Because at the end of the day, I was still doing everything I wanted to do, but it felt like it wasn't enough to sort of, like, put me in that sort of, like, safe, sort of, like, that safe marketable aspect, mainstream marketable aspect. So Rabbit Hole sort of came out of the idea that, like, I wanted to do something that mainstream audiences would not necessarily dare to do. Right? This is something way radical. This is something a little bit different. This is something a little bit extreme, right? And I think certain people out there, I know who my audience is, and I will be marketing to them. I know people out there will really enjoy what I've been doing, but I've stated this already, and I'm not sure how much more I'm willing to reveal at this stage. But Rabbit Hole is the story of a boy who meets a girl who has a history of having been kidnapped and sexually abused by certain powerful individuals, right? And so the plot of Rabbit Hole is essentially him getting involved in this seedy, sort of disgusting culture among these powerful individuals, these certain individuals, and, like, sort of realizing that it's his life's work to sort of, like, destabilize and destroy it, right? To sort of, like, really make people aware and really, like, really hold these people accountable to what they've done to thousands upon thousands of people, or millions even, when you get right down to it. Perhaps I've said too much, but the idea is just, this is not something I think would go over well with certain individuals, because of course we are talking about like the sex trade and stuff like that, and how certain, and specifically how certain people who purport themselves to be feminists are actually like sexual abusers. Like, that's never ever 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 going to take off. Like, considering like I know people in the film industry who that fits to a T. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, I just don't see it. Due to the way how everyone in this industry is connected, I don't see this story really sort of gaining mainstream momentum because of that. Because they'll do everything in their power to quash it and like prevent it from being released. Like, they'll try to tell me that like, oh, you're not good enough. But at this stage, I am 100% sure. I am 100% certain that's not true, because like I've seen stuff, absolute trash, The Hunger Games, Twilight. Like I've seen stuff like that become 50 Shades of Grey. Like I've seen stuff like that just come out, be monumentally, disgustingly successful, right? And they're not interesting at all. They're boring. They're uninspired. They're straight up pornographic in 50 Shades case. I don't find myself really. I don't see myself as being lesser than those writers at all. And as a result, like, even if I'm not financially successful, I should be able to get a foothold in the industry. But, with topics like this, I don't think that would happen. I do think someone, somewhere, would want to quash it. Some pedophile in the industry, maybe I should just... a bit of a hot take there, but I do feel as if this is something that I am very, very excited about where Rabbit Hole is heading. Like, I'm very, very excited about like the sort of setting, the general plot, the way I'm going about this, the way I'm building it, and my inspiration for the series, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people. I think it's going to have some of the most varied. Maybe I should hold off on that until I talk about my inspiration for this and how that's going to tie into the creation of the novel itself. Maybe later. Let's hold off on that for a moment. But the long and short of it is that like Rabbit Hole is coming along very, very well. Like, I'm 10,000 words in. I'm expecting that I'll be done before the end of the year. That might not happen. Anything can happen, but I do think it will happen. Like, I am almost certain at this point. But if it does, if it doesn't, whatever. Like, I do think in the end, when it is done, it's going to be good. Like, probably not the best thing I've ever written. I do think I do think Clover or The Black Castle is probably my best stuff so far, but both of which are completely unpublished, by the way. Stuff I'll have to get back on later. Those were not intended to be self-published, so maybe I'll go back and publish those as well. Who knows, really? But I think. I think Rabbit Hole is shaping up very, very well, and I'm very interested in seeing just where it develops from here. And I hope that you continue to support me throughout this process, because this is what I want to do. This is what I enjoy. This is what I like doing. I want to do it more often. So I'm definitely anxious to get right back into it.